Welcome to the Amateur Traveler Video Edition. I'm your host, Chris Christensen, and this is the Panama Canal. This is the Panama Canal as it appears from the deck of the Holland America ship, the Volendam. And we're approaching the first set of locks from the Caribbean side of the canal, heading towards the Pacific. As you're in the canal, you're being pulled along by these electric locomotives by Mitsubishi. When the canal opened in 1914, it was powered by GE locomotives, and that's really one of the only changes that you will see that has happened to the set of locks since its opening in 1914. From a Panamax ship, like the one we were on, the Volendam, the canal looks fairly small, and this is one of the reasons why they're building the newer canal, which would be to our left from where we are now. That building in the background, that gray building, that's actually a Japanese auto carrier. That's a ship, and as we watch, we'll actually catch up with that in the next set of locks. Going through the Panama Canal is not a rapid operation, and it works just the same way it did when the canal opened originally. All of the locks are filled from water that is coming from the inland lakes, in this case from Gatun Lake, which we're looking at. It's a couple locks ahead of us. And the reason why the Panama Canal is built where it is not just because it's the thinnest part of land, but also because with 300 inches of rain, it has enough rainwater to power the locks. Because all of the water flows just with gravity. There are no pumps in the current set of locks, although there will be in the new locks. All of the water, when it flows out of these locks, will flow back the way we came, back to the Caribbean. We are slowly rising at this point, but it takes quite a lot of water, obviously, to fill up a lock large enough to hold a cruise ship. So we can now see over the gate. And again, we can see that auto carrier on the left-hand side, not a gray building again. And now we're ready to go into the next set of locks. There are 3 locks on both sides. This is the 3 set of locks going into Panama, the Gatun locks. The cost of crossing the Panama Canal depends on the size of the ship. The most that has been ever paid is over $300,000 for a cruise ship. The least expensive, 36 cents, to a man, Richard Halliburton, who swam the Panama Canal. This ship probably paid about $250,000, and that's one of the reasons you, on many cruises, will go into the canal and then back out again. You'll cross through then 3 locks in, 3 locks out, the same as if you went from the Pacific to the Atlantic. If you went all the way from the Atlantic to the Pacific and then back again, then you would have to pay twice as much money. This ship probably paid about $250,000 to go into and then back out of the canal. Many of the cargo ships will actually traverse the canal at night when the costs are less expensive because they don't have gawking tourists on the deck as the MS Volendam had. You can see the locomotive on the next canal. There are 2 parallel canals, both of them in this time heading in the same direction, pulling this Japanese car carrier, the Nippon Highway. Very ungainly looking vessel. We'll get another picture of it as it goes out of the canal. Looks like a floating office building. Canal is of course run right now by the Panamanians. See the Panamanian flag. Was built, first attempted by the French and then later by the Americans. The Americans completed the job and then ran it for many years before handing it over to Panama. During the construction of the canal, between the French and the Americans, over 27,000 people died. Most people were killed by malaria, followed by yellow fever. Most people find that surprising, yellow fever being the scarier illness because it killed more quickly when it did kill and there was less chance of recovery, but more people got malaria. I suggest reading the book The Path Between the Seas by David McCullough, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes at amateurtraveler.com. And there you can see a picture again of the back of that Japanese car carrier. This car carrier appeared to be empty as it is heading towards Japan and was riding very, very high up in the water. You get charged less money for an empty ship than you do for a full one, which is odd because you use more water to transport an empty ship than you would a full ship that would displace more water. It's really hard to believe how many people died building the Panama Canal as you're sailing through it. Now it has a very park-like atmosphere, but at that time, clearly not. Again, traversing the Panama Canal, not a rapid operation. And we still have one more set of locks to do, but we'll leave that to your imagination. We'll leave you here for this episode of The Amateur Traveler. For other episodes of The Amateur Traveler Video Edition, check them out at amateurtraveler.com. Also check out the weekly audio show, again, at amateurtraveler.com. As always, thanks so much for watching.